Praise and esteem and honor to the Most High Yah by way of Yahushua HaMashiach this day. John 5:39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you. But I know you. Shalom, man. But I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. Another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one from another, and seek not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you to Moses. There is one that accused you, even Moses, of whom you trust. Had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not in writings, how should you believe my words? 1 Kings chapter 2, man. GP, I talked to Derek, man. He said you bringing some of your homeboy with you, man. Bringing some of your homeboy with you, man.
That's next weekend, right?
About 2 weeks. February the 1st. 1 Kings chapter 2. How many homeboys you bringing with you, GP? Oh, shoot. He told me, he said you would bring a couple of your friends, man. Say a couple of your friends were going to slide through. They done reneged on your mind. 1 Kings 2 and 1. Now the days of David drew nigh that he should die. And he charged Solomon his son, saying, I go the way of all the earth. Be thou strong, therefore, and show thyself a man. And keep the charge of Yahuwah Elohim to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments and his testimonies, as it is written in the Torah of Moses, that thou may prosper in all the things that thou do, wheresoever thou turn thyself. Revelation chapter 1. Excuse me. I heard that. I ain't never read it. Revelation 1 and 5. Whew. Goodness grief. And from Yahushua HaMashiach, who is the faithful witness and the first begotten of the dead, and the prince of the kings of the earth, unto him that loved us and washed us from our sins in his own blood, and have made us kings and priests unto Elohim his Abba, to him be esteem and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Behold, he come with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, amen. I am the Aleph and the Ta, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty. So let's pick it up where we were. We talked about a little bit of protection and a little bit of altruism, aka self-sacrifice, on Wednesday. It's one of the hallmarks of being an Aleph man. The strength, the leader, the ox. As we continue down the road of talking about showing ourselves as men. You know, it's something that we're going to deal with on the morrow. And I'll expound on it more probably then. But, you know, it's just certain attributes that we have to be able to possess. Because we can say we men all day long, but do you line up? Does it match up? You know, examine yourselves whether you be in the faith, lest you be a reprobate. Ain't that what we talk about that? You got to examine yourself whether you're in the faith. See, it's real easy to say, I'm a man. And you could just be a man in your own mind. You know what I'm saying? But there's certain things, we didn't talk about this before, like, if you're a man who can't control his emotions, you're not a man. You're still a little boy. You're still a child, because men can control themselves. See, pause. Let's go back. because we read it last week, and of course we get back to Isaiah 41 in a moment. But of course we're gonna be going into it even more because we got to dissect that as well if you will see fit. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, we could pick it up at verse 9. See, it's easy to, you know it, because don't see the thing is right. There's no shame in saying that you're not operating as a full masculine man. You know what I'm saying? Because there's certain things that a man should be doing. See, we live in a society now where everybody's screaming that they're a man, but everybody can't be operating as a man. And the main key point where you know how somebody operating as a man is their mindset, the things that they give their attention to, the things that they hold important to them, and the things that they value. See, if you look at it this way, right? Because we mentioned this other day, and I mentioned it again. Like, if you don't even know what your values are, if you can just give a generic, cop-out, simplistic, antiseptic answer, you can't be a man, because a man can clearly define his values, because his values is what makes him be the man that he is. See, when the times that we went through, Yahuwah proclaiming his name, that's him proclaiming his values, the things that makes him who he is, because these are the things that he holds to. When we went through the things which love is, these are Yahuwah's values. These are the things that define who he is as a man, so to speak. So if you don't even have clearly defined values, you cannot profess yourself to be a man. See, if you sit back and say, oh, my values is the word, that's a cop-out answer. That's very general. You're just saying that because you hope somebody won't press you any further, which does not make you a man, because then you can't even properly elucidate your stance. You can't even properly explain yourself. Men are thorough in the things that they're involved in, the things that they value, the things that they stand for, and they can plainly manifest those things to whoever is near them. Does that mean that you have to be a superior orator? No. But you should be able to clearly express and convey what it is that your values are. Like, if you don't know what your values are, how can you say you're a man? Matter of fact, hold on. Let's do this here. 1 Corinthians 13 and 9. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spake as a child, understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. So then you have to look at it. You was a child, you spoke, you understood, and you thought like one. That's why I say it's your mindset. Because remember, abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So as you think in your mind, that's what comes up out of your mouth. You have to look at your conversation. You have to look at the conversation you have with other people, and that will show forth if you have the mindset of a man. When you have conversations with people, are they about frivolous things? Are they about nonsense? Do you add knowledge to the individual in the conversation? Are they adding knowledge to you in the conversation? Are they imparting wisdom in the conversation? Are you imparting wisdom in the conversation? Are you imparting understanding in the conversation? Does anybody even come for you for informational purposes? Does anybody come for you for counsel? Because you're not a little boy, you're a grown man, so you should be able to have an adult conversation. And if adult conversations offend you, or when you're pressed to further explain your stances or be able to press to express yourself in an adult fashion, how can we say we meant? Because the thing that we're looking at in the text say to seek you out the book of Yahuwah and read, and that the knowledge of Yahuwah be from one end of the earth to the other. And this is the knowledge which will allow an individual to no longer speak like a child, no longer understand like a child, and no longer think like a child. Now, of course, you're going to have conversations where you're cracking jokes and talking about utter nonsense. Of course, we know that's going to happen. But if you're talking about utter nonsense 24/7, I'm like this here, man, because I shared it, and I meant, well, if you don't read, you can't call yourself a man. How you a man? You ain't learning. If you don't read, and I ain't talking about just the script, if you don't read at all, you're not a man, because you're not learning anything. And men are supposed to be teaching. You don't just have to teach the word. You have to be able, and I ain't talking about teaching no woman or just teaching no children, because I was raised with each one teach one. How can you be in a circle of dudes and you can't even learn nothing from the niggas you hang with? You can't even learn nothing from these niggas. You gotta look at that. You gotta look at the niggas you around. Can you learn something from this nigga? Can you gain something in the course of this conversation? Because if you around a whole bunch of people you can't learn nothing from, you might need to pick new friends. I mean, nah, but that ain't no different. I mean, they wanted that when I was a jit. You know what I'm saying? So that's just human nature. Ain't nothing wrong with wanting to make you a little bit of money and be fly. Ain't nothing wrong with being attracted to a woman. But ain't no excuse for being stupid. Let me take that back. Not being stupid, being ignorant. Because dudes was chasing money and chasing women when I was a teenager. But I had dudes around my way with like, hey man, you need to put something in your brain though. You need to put something in your brain though. That was of course I think that was a moniker that came from New York, but that's what them niggas used to say, each one teach one. So I know I'm supposed to learn from my homeboy the same way he learned from me, and I learned from my homeboy over here, and I can learn from my home. You got a whole bunch of people you hang around, you can't even learn nothing from them niggas, man. What purpose do they serve? What purpose do you serve? As a man, you should be on a constant pursuit of bettering yourself every single solitary day. And if you don't read, or if you're not seeking knowledge or information to make yourself expand as a man, how can you say you're a man? That doesn't make any sense. If all you want to do is be entertained, you're a child. Children want to be entertained. A grown man's desire should not be to be entertained. 24/7, all you want to do is be entertained? That's a child. That's not a man. That is not a man at all. In no time in history. Isaiah 41. We talked about Isaiah 41 a little bit on Wednesday. I pick you up at verse 4. Please don't take that what he's saying is just that rigid. You know, it's nothing wrong. You know, you want to have some entertainment. We talking about if that's your number one priority. You have to look at something. Because now, and now to go what Brother GP just said, we live in a society now that values entertainment over learning. You want to be entertained, but you don't want to learn. You only learn when you're forced to learn. You should have a desire for learning, because the desire for learning that leads to the evolution and maturation of a man. It can allow you to grow. You don't grow because you're not putting nothing in your mind, so you stay stagnant. (41 and 4), I should say. It says, who have wrought and done it the generations from the beginning, I, Yahuwah, I'm the first and the last. One thing I can say, man, smart people don't fade away. It's just that just got more people that don't have a desire for learning, because just because you read or learn a lot doesn't necessarily make you intelligent. Some people have natural intelligence, but learning is about more of making yourself a better individual. That you're constantly learning new things. Whether it's learning new things about yourself, whether it's learning new things about your environment, and whether it's learning a new skill, whether it's just learning something that you didn't know. Just the desire to learn new things. If you don't have a desire to learn new things, but to just be entertained, you're not operating in the full function of manhood. You're still operating in the function as a child, because children like to be entertained. Men should not like to be entertained over learning. Like we done talked about this before. We live in a society now that said learning must be fun. When did that happen? When does that happen? Learning is for the purpose of evolving and making yourself better. It's not for fun. You know why learning is not fun? Because you're not learning stuff that you desire to know. So therefore you feel you have to be entertained and make it fun for you to absorb the information. If you have a passion for it, it's fun regardless. There doesn't have to be anything to be done to it. The thing is that if there's an environment of learning fostered, then you don't necessarily have to make learning fun, because the individual will have fun learning new things. But that just comes from being in an environment of learning. A lot of us don't come from being in an environment of learning. So it's a little different. You know, you got to come from an environment of learning. You'll have fun learning new things. You get excited. That's how that was around my way when we hit adolescence. Niggas reading so much different stuff. You know what I'm saying? You ready to slide up on your homeboy with a bag and kick it about what you just read. You know what I'm saying? See what he think about it. He may know about it. He may not know about it. And then you sit down and we having a conversation about this. You politicking about it. Well, shoot, I see it like this here. We didn't have full-fledged arguments about stuff because dudes disagreed. But it's just a form of having an intellectual discourse because your brain is a muscle. You got to use it. You don't use it, it's going to atrophy. You're going to grow dumb. You have to use it. So we're going to look at the word generation. It's door. So Dalet, U, and Arash. And when you see this here, all you see is how this highest is going to secure you to the door. So you have he declares, he say, calling the generations from the beginning. So we're looking at the highest securing people to the door. When we look at beginning, it's the Hebrew character Rosh. So we see the first. So we see that when he said he's calling the generations from the beginning, he's calling the generations from his son. So let's take a look at son. We talked about this not too long ago. Well, not that particular verse, but we're going to revisit it to stir up your pure minds by way of remembrance. And I go to Psalms 139. See, you have to be effective. You have to realize, especially for most of y'all, got children, young men at that, you should have a desire to prepare this man to be the most dangerous man on the planet. And not in a violent fashion, so to speak, because it's his mind, because it's the mind of a black man that the world fears. And now imagine if he has the mind of a Mashiach. That's a different level of fear that the world will have for this young black child. It's like this here, right? And I've always felt this way. Black people love to pitch their children to play athletics. For what? What is the purpose? What is the purpose? Are we pushing them to athletics because we trying to live our failed hoop dreams, football legacies through our children? With hopes of them making a league that barely anybody makes because it's 1,500 jobs that they fighting for, 53 men roster, 32 teams. It's over 110 Division 1A schools. They call it FBS now, or FCS, or whatever they call it. And then you got what used to be called Division 2, which might be FBS. So if you're talking about 110 Division 1 schools with 100 kids on the roster, you do the math. All them niggas not making it. Most of them ain't there for a college education. Only benefited them going to college is that they don't come out in debt. You know what I'm saying? They're being flim-flam by that scam, but that's another conversation for another time. You know what I'm saying? So you look at that, and this is what we pushed them to. For the hopes that they could make a couple $1,000,000 when we could have just sat back and cultivated our own minds. That when we had these young men, that you could cultivate their minds, that they could produce something from scratch that they own to lead their generations. And instead of saying, well, if you get in the NFL or you get in the NBA, you could get millions of dollars and then you could start your own businesses and all this, that, there, and the third. But you pushing them into something that they don't control. I mean, yeah, it's always been sport. Now, I mean, the Romans played sports. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, it's a job at these days and times. It's just not sports, it's an occupation. And it's a year-round occupation, depending on what sport you play. And if somebody want to play sports, I mean, that's their prerogative. It's going to be kind of difficult for somebody in the Word to play it because you have to defile the Sabbath quite regularly in order to do so. But it's just a fact of, I never understood the mentality of why we push our children to that. We don't push our children to be entrepreneurs. We don't push our children to be doctors or scientists or engineers or airline pilots or anything of that nature. Don't push them to do that. We just push them to athletics. And I never understood what was the purpose of that. Why would we do that? And the only thing that I could come up with over time, you know, this is just my thoughts on that over time, is people trying to live through their kids. period. You know what I'm saying? And a desire that they could become wealthy, or not even say wealthy, but rich through athletics, when most niggas don't make it. And I think it's more so of the fear of doing other things, and you projecting that fear on your children. See, we were talking about this a little earlier. Like, I don't know nothing about the whole play of the interview. I just know that when Soulja Boy was on, I was offended how those black people talked to this man about selling the video game system and why you got so many businesses. Because you projecting your fears and your insecurities on this person. And that's what we do with our children. You project your fears and insecurities on them because you don't want to do it, or you don't have a desire to do it, or you don't feel like you can succeed, and then you push them to what you feel like is the easy road. When really it's very, very difficult. It's difficult to play a professional sport. You know what I'm saying? It's difficult to make it. We just seen one of the brothers, he done came through for the word many, many moons ago. He's still fighting. It was very asinine. He's still fighting for a spot in the pros. You know what I'm saying? This man's been in a couple training camps, played in Canada. Now he playing in this new league that started in February. You know what I'm saying? This man was a pretty good college linebacker. But that don't mean you're going to make it, man. This just crazy. You know what I'm saying? You got people who play minor league baseball for 10, 15 years, chasing that dream. And if it's your dream, I can't knock you. If that's your dream, man, do what you do. If that make you happy. If that's what that make you happy, I can't knock nobody for that. But I'm more so looking at why do we push our children to those things. And I ain't saying you got to push your child to be an entrepreneur, because that ain't for everybody. It ain't. It's a very lonely lifestyle. It can be very stressful. Take a lot of work, take a lot of focus, take a lot of determination, take a lot of grit. You know what I'm saying? And it's not for everybody. It's not. You know what I'm saying? People on the internet make it seem like it's so sweet and so lovely. It's not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. And it's definitely not for the lazy. Because if somebody got to tell you what to do, that life ain't for you. Nevertheless, Psalms 139. Where I want to roll at. I'll do verse 11. He said, if I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be light about me. Pause. That's what we were talking about last night, or Wednesday night. And the week before that, if I'm not mistaken, what did he say? Surely darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be light to me. How? How can the night be light? Because the same way that he made it be light in all the houses of Yasharal dwellings and in Mishraim, the same way that Yahushua was light on the state, that's what he talking about. Because listen what he tell you in verse 12. Yea, darkness hide not from thee, but the night shine as the day. The darkness and the light are both alike to thee. How is that possible? He said the darkness and the light are the same to you. How is the darkness and the light the same? That doesn't make any sense. Let's take a look at, hold it, my selector. Hold it. I don't know where my pen went. Get your Job 34 and Daniel chapter 2. Job 34 and 17. Daniel chapter, oh, there you go. Daniel chapter 2. And by verse 17 as well. Let's just take a trip. Let's take a little bit more of that light. Just bear with me. We can get that one way or another. About verse 17. He said, now, bring it verse 16. He said, if now thou hast understanding, hear this and hearken to the voice of my words. Shall even he that hate right govern? Will thou condemn him that is most just? Ask yourself that question. If you hate right, shall you rule? No, we live in a world where people hate what's right and they rule. You know, it's a lot of stuff I see. You know, it's a lot of asinine things going down. The biggest asinine thing I see going down right now is dudes is trying to tell women, because there's a government shutdown, that they need to get with polygyny and be a sister wife. I'm like, like, how do you niggas take a situation, which I don't know how many people get food stamps. You know what I'm saying? Because all these niggas think the apocalypse coming. Oh, we going into martial law. People going to start robbing and killing because the government shut down. You niggas fear mongers. You know what I'm saying? You looking for anything to make something like this here like, nah, ain't nobody going to do all that. What you gonna do when the food run out? Ain't no food running out, nigga. Food stamps just gonna run out. And guess what? If you feel the need to rob and steal and pillage because you ain't getting no food stamps, you need to assess your life and the people around you. That's not to say that there's people who don't get food stamps who are struggling, because we know that's the case. But I'm talking about if you not getting food stamps or WIC make you want to rob and kill people, you need to reassess your life, because this something ain't right. It's something in your mind ain't right. You ain't getting my food stamp. I'm going to go kill me a nigga. Seriously, man. Oh, everything just going to go. Nigga talking about you better get your survival stuff together. What make y'all think the whole world finna collapse because the government don't have a budget? Do niggas even know what a government shutdown is? All it is these people ain't got no budget. Not that they ain't got no money. They don't have a budget. So therefore, certain programs and certain departments don't get funded. Now, me, myself, they making federal workers work without getting paid. It'd be a snowy day in hell before I went somewhere and worked for free. I wouldn't care what you got going on. I ain't coming. You could tell your president that. I'm not sliding. No, I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? That's not to say that don't be paying attention to what's going on in the world, but don't let these people strike fear in your heart and make you think, oh, this here gonna happen and this here gonna happen. And even if all that stuff did happen, it's just the beginning of sorrows. We just talked about that in Enduring All Things. It's just the beginning of sorrows. It ain't the end. It ain't the end. Ain't nobody stood up and said they God. Man, I already told you, don't get weary in your mind now. Don't let your heart be troubled. Niggas' hearts be troubled, man. Don't let your heart be troubled. It ain't that serious. Verse 18. Is it fit to say to a king, thou art wicked, and to princes, you are ungodly? And that's what they did to Yahushua. They told him he was wicked, told him he was ungodly. How much less to him that accept not the person of princes, nor regard the rich more than the poor, for they all are the work of his hand. So guess what? Listen what he tell you, right? Give you some understanding. This man just said, hey, the darkness and the light, they're both alike to him. He said he don't regard the persons of the poor. They all the work of his hands. Rich, poor, princes or not. He said in a moment they shall die, and the people shall be troubled at midnight and pass away. And the mighty shall be taken away without hand. For his eyes are upon the ways of man, he see all his goings. There is no darkness, nor shadow of death, where the workers of iniquity may hide themselves. So ain't nowhere you can hide. That's how the darkness still get light. There ain't no way you can hide. You can't hide nowhere. Let's look at Daniel. But we're going to get to one more thing as it runs down to this here, and it's going to also run into another attribute of Aleph. We also talked about Aleph, man. We also talked about leading by example on Wednesday. That's something that Mashiach did. He led by example. He was also self-sacrificing, and he was protective of those that were his. See, one of the biggest mistakes, male or female, and are amongst our people, because I'm not talking about other people, because I can't speak on white culture. I'm not white. So I don't know what they do or what they don't do. We're really looking from the outside looking in. You know what I'm saying? I can't speak on Arabics. We're really from the outside looking in. But for black people, we can speak for that. We black. We have that more do as I say and not as I do attitude, and not leading by example. Like, you can't get mad at your kids for not learning when you don't have a desire to learn, when they don't see you reading and they don't see you learning. Don't get upset with them when they bring bad grades home. Don't get upset with them when they don't have a desire for it because they just followed your example. Don't get mad at your children for following your example. Don't get mad at them. Don't tell them to do something opposite of what you're doing and get mad at them when they do exactly what you're doing. Because you're really mad at yourself because they holding that mirror up in your face and you see them boogers in your nose. And you want to get mad with them because they say, Daddy, you got boogers in your nose. Don't get mad at them. Be the example that you want them to follow, or you a hypocrite. We got to be the example that you want them to follow. Period. You can't tell them to be this type of man. Show them. Because if you ain't going to show them, you just really blowing hot air. You just wasted your lungs. You could have kept that breath in, for another chance to stay alive. So, Daniel chapter 2, verse 17. Daniel 2 and 17. Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, his companions, that they would desire mercies of the Elohim or Shamahim concerning this secret, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men in Babylon. Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel baruched the Elohim of Shamahim. Daniel answered and said, Baruch be the name of Elohim forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. Let that be known. Praise be to Yah. Wisdom and might are his. And he changed the times and the seasons. He removed kings. He set up kings. He gave wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. Pause. So he said now remember, Paul said, I understood as a child. So the only way that he's going to give knowledge to an individual is if they know understanding. So let's take a look. Oh, I don't have it in this book. I'm sorry. So when we know that the Son of Man has come, the Son of Man is coming, that we should know him, that is true, and that we are in him, and that is true. Well, he said, we know that the Son of Elohim is coming, giving us an understanding that we should know him, that is true, and that we're in him, that is true. Even your son, Yahushua HaMashiach, this is the true Elohim in eternal life. When the Mashiach prayed in John 17, that man said, Abba, I and you and them and me, that we may be perfect in one. Because he said, Abba, I declared them your name, and they believed it and received it. He said, Kadash, Father, the world have not known thee, but I have known thee, and those who I've manifested your name to, they have known you. If we say we're going to understand as a man and no longer understand as a child, that means we would have to know Yahuwah. And if you know Yahuwah, his Ruach should be present in your mortal body. If you say you know him, his light should be in you. His anointing should be in you. The mind of the Son of the living God, whose name is Yahushua HaMashiach, who is Baruch forever, should be in you. Because then you should be thinking like he thought and speaking how he spoke and understanding how he understood. A statement that the Mashiach said is this: my doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me. If any man do his will, he'll know whether the doctrine is mine or whether I speak of myself. He said, he that seek the esteem of him that sent him, the same is true, and there's no unrighteousness in him. So let that sit back and marinate in your mind for a moment, because he made the statement that he gives knowledge to them that knows understanding. And to know understanding is to know God. And please bear with me, because it's going to tie into Psalms 139, I promise. But keep that in your mind. He revealed the deep and secret things. He know what is in the darkness, and the light dwell with him. So he know both. He know what's in the darkness. The light dwells with him. Why does the light dwell with him? Because Yahushua is the light, and in him was the light, and the light was the life of men, and he's the light in the world. And that while the light is in the world, you ought to walk as the children of the light. Because you're not children of the day, because we don't riot in the night like the children. See, right now it's dark. And I know this because I sold drugs. And when you sell drugs, it was a drug that I sold. It's a nighttime drug. Crack cocaine is a nighttime drug. And when you out all types of night, you know what's funny to me? In Duval County, you don't see no cars on the road late at night. But it's always a whole bunch of stuff going on. It's always a whole bunch of people out doing all manner of ungodly things at ungodly hours. Y'all know full well after midnight ain't nothing open but trap houses and legs. When you sit back and you look at it in reality, depending on where you're going, what purpose does any grown person have being out at 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning? Like, what purpose does that serve?
I'm going to Bob's Daddy when I take this to Bob's Daddy, my purse to Bob's Daddy.
Okay.
So I can play with it.
No, you're not going to play with it. You ought to be sitting there listening. Very well. You may depart now. So, I mean, and I'm like I said, because there's certain things that you could go do. And this ain't even talking about being godly. Like, what is there really, what purpose do you have of being out and about? I ain't talking about you was at somebody's house and you politicking and everybody slid home late. I'm talking about out, and because this nigga's out and about 2, 3 in the morning. I know from experience ain't nothing good going on 2, 3 in the morning. Niggas getting killed, niggas getting robbed, niggas getting high. Vagina is being sold. You know what I'm saying? Especially in this city. It's all manner of ungodliness going on. Ain't just this, it's plenty, it's all of them. It's all manner of ungodliness going on. Matter of fact, let me get that 1 Thessalonians 5 for you. Silence. Silence. No one believes you anyway. 1 Thessalonians 5, man. 5 and 4 be sufficient. But ye brethren are not in darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief. You are the children of light and the children of the day. We are not of the night nor of the darkness. Therefore let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. For they that sleep, sleep in the night, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night. See, that's the thing. When you like to move in the night, you like to do things under the cover of darkness. He said that's why there's no shadow of turning where the workers of iniquity may be hid. Because see, when you go out in the dark, see, you figure ain't nobody gonna see me. Don't nobody know I'm out here. Don't nobody know. But guess what? It's the one who always knows, who sees all things. He saw it. See, I ain't mentioned this verse to y'all in a while. But it's a strong one. It's in Ecclesiastes 8 and 11. He says, because the sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, it is privily in the hearts of the sons of men to do evil. So because you don't render your judgment, it ain't no different than committing a crime. You sell a rock, you don't go to jail, you sell another one. You rob somebody, you don't get caught, you rob again. Some dudes kill and they don't get caught and they kill again. Some women prostitute themselves. Don't get caught, they prostitute again. Because that judgment didn't come upon you swiftly right then to cause you to reconsider your behavior. And see, we've been meandering around in a childlike state, and nothing comes to correct your behavior until the word came. But then we on fire for it for a little while, and then you get comfortable and complacent. And you feel like you don't have that same hunger for it. It's monotonous to you. And we make a lot of excuses. We make a lot of excuses on why. Oh, I need to hear this, or I need to hear that, or maybe I need to hear the word is the word. It don't matter who voice say it. It's still the same word. Don't make no difference. You know what I'm saying? You have to look at it right. If you have a passion for it, it don't make no difference. Your soul is on fire. Your heart is on fire. Every single solitary time it's mentioned, irregardless of who mentions it, because that's your passion. See, they talk about that with Mashiach, his passion, which was to die. And that's the hallmark of a man as well, as that's passion. You don't want to deal with a man who don't have no passion, because a man who don't have no passion ain't going to be committed to nothing. He ain't going to be committed to nothing. He just floating. Because a man who don't have no passion don't really stand for nothing. And you have to sit back and assess that. Like, what's up with this nigga? You ain't passionate about nothing? Nothing? Don't nothing stoke your flames, man? Don't nothing get you excited? Don't nothing make you jump up out of bed to be a part of it? Nothing that you look forward to executing and doing? Nothing that you would adamantly and consistently defend and stand up for, because your heart and soul is in that. I'm going to tell you, it is what it is, but let me take this to Matthew chapter 5 so we can move on. How the light and the darkness is with him. See, in Isaiah 45, he say, I, Yah, create the light and the dark, good and evil. I do all these things. And how is the light and dark with Yahuwah? Because the sinners are with Yahuwah. The righteous are with Yahuwah. And he renders judgment to whom he will. You can come back to Psalm 139. Because what I was going to read y'all was in Matthew 5. I need to crank it up a bit. It's when he told you that, hey, man, show mercy unto sinners and your enemies. He said, your Abba and Shamahim make the rain fall on the just and the unjust. Be ye therefore perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. Because the light and the darkness dwell with him. Guess what? The light and the darkness going to dwell with him in the kingdom. They just going to be outside the camp, burning in the valley of Hinnom. Ain't no variableness with you. And ain't no shadow of turning. His will going to be accomplished. It's firm and absolute. Back to Psalms 139. Verse 13. We just bringing something back to y'all remembrance. Because he said he declared the generations from the beginning. So that means he declares his generations from the Rosh or from the chief. So his generations were declared from the Son. See, for thou hast possessed my reins, thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul know right well. My substance was not hid from thee, when I was made in secret, curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Thy eyes did see my substance, yet being imperfect. And in thy book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. Some of y'all remember when we did this. Some of y'all may not. When he looked at his substance was not hid when he was formed in the lower parts of the earth, that should be a strong clue. Clearly, when he say his members were written in the book, he talking about the book of life, and his members are the body of a Mashiach. Check Ephesians 5 for that. We are all his members. But when you look at it being wrought in the lowest parts of the earth, he's talking about when this man was formed. And I seen a brother ask this question, say a brother should teach on this, and we done dealt with this before. Why Yahushua was calling himself the Son of Man and not the Son of God? Because he came through a man. So therefore he wasn't the Son of God until he resurrected from the dead to take that back. So when he's in the grave and he's in secret and he's being worked, he's being fashioned, he's being made into the Son of Elohim. And then at that point, those who are in him, their names already written in his book. Ephesians chapter 1. Their names already written in his book. And he has declared you from the beginning. He declared you from the chief. He declared you from the son. He already done that. That's already been done. He declared you to be in his son from the beginning. You ain't know nothing about it. Y'all know about what Jeremiah. But see, it'd be funny that people see certain stuff with a prophet. And I'm just mentioning that he said, he told Jeremiah, before I formed you in the belly, I knew thee. And think that only would apply to them. Oh, see, that's about Jeremiah, brother. They ain't got nothing to do with you. So you mean of all the people in the world that's ever been born, he only knew Jeremiah? You was an idiot. You think he didn't know Adam or Abraham? You got to be a little smarter than that. You got your haircut towel? That's the haircut towel. Oh, no. Ephesians 1 and 3. Never good to hear before I get my belt. That'd make you lay down real quick. Baruch be Elohim Abba of our Master Yahushua HaMashiach, who baruched us with spiritual blessings in heavenly places in Hamashiach, according as he hath chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be kadosh without blame before him in love, having predestinated us unto the adoption of children by Yahushua HaMashiach to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will, to the praise of the esteem of his grace, when he hath made us accepted in the beloved. Now, of course, if you remember, when we looked in Revelation 13 and it talks about, what's his name? The beast, and how everybody would worship the beast, whose names were not written in the Lamb's book of life. Because Yahushua is the beginning, he's the chief. And if you're going to be the chief or the first, then there's things that go along with that. So let's take ourselves to Isaiah 44 and 6. I told you we taking a long ride with manhood. Bear with me. It's going to be some things that may not directly correlate to what we're dealing with until we get finished. But we're going to deal with it all, though. 44 and 6, the book of Isaiah. 44 and 6. Get another word for chief out of the way. Because we got to deal with that first and the last statement that he made in Revelation and deal with it here. Thus saith Yahuwah, the king of Yasharal and his redeemer, Yahuwah of hosts, I am the first, I am the last. Beside me there is no Elohim. And who, as I shall call and shall declare it, and set it in order for me. Since I appointed the ancient people and the things that are coming and shall come, let them show unto them. Fear ye not, neither be afraid. Have I not told thee from that time and have declared it? You are even my witnesses. Is there an Elohim beside me? Yea, there is no Elohim. I know not any. This man say, I shall call and set it in order for me, since I appointed the ancient people. Please tell somebody come and sit back and say, I done told you the things that are coming and shall come. Please show it to me. Please show it. Yahushua said in the 14th chapter of John, and this is another hallmark about being a man, it's being honest. It's being honest. It's the attribute of an olive man is being honest. Scripturally, that's what it is, and that's what he's doing right now. Because Yahushua told you in the 14th chapter of John, 14th chapter of John, this man said, I tell you things before they happen. So when they come to pass, you may believe that I am he. Yahuwah said the same thing in about the 48th chapter of Isaiah, and he said the same thing now. You set it in order, and you tell me about it if I'm lying. Yahushua told you also in the 14th chapter of John, in my Abba's house there's many mansions. I go to prepare a place for you. If it was not so, I would have told you. So now as and I took this tract to dare how the light and the darkness dwell with him, and how when he was fashioned in the grave as the Son of God and rose as the Son of God, that there were those whose names were written with him in the Lamb book of life. And that means that they would no longer think like a child or understand like a child or act like a child, but they would be men. And one of the aspects of being a man is being honest. So let's take a look at one of the attributes of Yahuwah. I mentioned a couple times where Yahushua said he told the truth without actually going to the text. We read one of them last week. This is number 23. We read one of them last week where it states that you ought to follow his example and that there was no guile found in his mouth. He ain't around here beguiling people, lying to people, deceiving. That's not the way of Yahuwah. That's not the way of a man of Yahuwah. See, listen what he says. See, this is the thing. We seeking to be godly, so we got to look at what it says in that regard. Numbers 23 and 19. Elohim is not a man that he should lie, neither the son of a man that he should repent. Have he said, and shall he not do it? Or have he spoken, and shall he not make it good? He said, what I'm going to lie to you for? Let's tell you that in another place. The strength of Yasharal doesn't lie nor repent. Lie to you for what, nigga? It's two immutable things. That is impossible for Elohim to lie. So when we look at the honesty, see, that's what got David in trouble. See, David told a bold-faced lie. Not only did he take another man's wife, he lied about it. Lied about it is covering it up. Omitting the truth is the same as a lie. Might as well, because that's what the serpent did. He omitted a little bit of truth, told a lie. I always say, you have of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. Because he was a liar and the father of it. So we have to look at that. Because guess what little children do all the time? They tell lies. And you know why they tell lies? To escape trouble. I heard John Gotti say, I don't lie to nobody. They say, why not? Because he said he don't fear no man. He said you only tell lies when you're scared. For the most part, and my journeys through life for almost 39 years, I deem that to be pretty accurate. Unless you just a real, what's the word I'm looking for? Deviant, miscreant, if you will. Yeah, they did lie, you know, and they definitely died for it. Now, I don't think they lied. They didn't lie for fear. They lied for greed. I'm trying to think of that. Either way it goes, you got to be a real depraved individual to just lie for the sake of lying. And you got niggas out here who do that. Just lie for the sake of lying. Nigga just volunteer lies. You know what I'm saying? The nigga you got to deal, the worst type of lie to deal with is a nigga who can look you right in your eyes and lie to you and his eyes don't move. You know what I'm saying? Like a nigga looking like this here. You thought a nigga that nigga that's sick. You were watching. Cause you know if you know what I'm saying, that's something real common. I forgot the first time I see it. I seen it, but I was legit where they was like, ways to tell if people lying to you by looking at their eyes. I think it said, when the eyes go to the right, they telling the truth, and when they go to the left, that they go into the creative part of their brain. But then you got the niggas who lie, their eyes don't move. They just looking at you like this here. Yeah, that's a different type of evil. And Satan, and you got to be careful, because what I tell you with that beast and what Satan coming to do, Satan gonna shoot lies and look niggas right in their eyes with it. Like this here, like you want it. You know you want it. But that's not right though. Man, I birth lies, nigga. I told the first one. You know you got to watch the nigga who tell the first one. That's why Yahuwah don't rock with it. That's why he's an adversary to Yahuwah. This nigga tell lies, man. This man ain't on that. But Isaiah, man. Y'all got to bear with me. That word for first is Rishon, means chief or first. So he the first chief, the first leader. Rosh, Aleph, Shan, U, and Nun. So you know the Aleph of what we dealing with is present. So when we turn around and we look at that, we could say the first strength, pairs, and secures eternal life. And that's what we seen when we seen that, because when we look at first strength, and we know the law say that the firstborn is the excellency of strength. Because he's supposed to be the leader of the whole household. Like everything's supposed to go to the firstborn male. Because he's supposed to, this is the strength of a man's seed. So this is supposed to be the leader of the family upon the father's decease. You know the worst thing that I think about, I mentioned that a lot of women do in this country, black people to be specific, is telling the little boy that he's the man of the house, putting undue responsibility on a young man's shoulders that he is not ready for. You the man of the house, baby. Don't tell him that. Let him be a child. Don't put him in a position to assume responsibility that he ain't ready to handle. Maybe you got some little young men out here, they can handle that level of responsibility. But that's a lot of weight to put on a young man's shoulders. It's a lot of weight to put on his shoulders. Now, I'm not saying that we're all women, but I've definitely seen it. That a lot of women tell their young man that he the man of the house because they trying to use him to replace their man. That junk tripped me out when I see women with their young sons. This my best friend. That's not your best friend. That's your son. That's your son. That's not your best friend. That's your son. You're here to rear him and raise him and prepare him for manhood with the best of your ability with the resources and tools that you have available. But that's not your best friend. That is your son. If you want a best friend, you need to go talk to somebody because clearly you need a man. Your son is not your man. And he ain't there to be your man. He ain't there to be your friend. He's there to learn from you and for you to provide for him and to protect him and to prepare him for adulthood. That's what he there for. Am I lying though? I'm not lying though. I never understood that when I seen a grown woman talking about my son, that's my best friend. So you sit down and you have intimate conversations with your son about your life and the things you're doing? No, you don't. You need a man, and you want to replace a man with your son. He's not your man, he's your son. Treat him as such. Let him evolve and grow into being a man. Oh, you the man of the house, baby. You got to do this here and do that there. Then you wonder why his heart cold when he get grown. It's stuff to do with faith, man. You know what I mean? And I ain't saying that a lot of women do it on purpose. A lot of them, they don't know no better. Just my observation. You know what I'm saying? For some dudes, it strengthened them in their pursuit of masculinity. And some dudes, it hindered them. You know what I'm saying? Because they might have overcompensated. A lot of times, a lot of dudes overcompensate in masculine. Like what a lot of people say, that's toxic masculinity and things of that nature. From what I've seen, it's not toxic masculinity. It's just insecurity and overcompensation for said insecurity. That's all it is. Ain't no toxic masculinity. Niggas just overcompensate. That's it. You know what I'm saying? You got some dudes because they got issues with their mama, or whatever the case may be, or something happening with a woman, they insecure in regards to women, so they overcompensate by trying to sleep with as many women as possible. Now you got some niggas just whores, and they ain't got no reason for it other than they're whores. So you know what I'm saying? It's not a one-size-fit-all type of thing of what I'm discussing. But it hinders them. You know what I'm saying? It hinders them. Just like something I ran across today, and I agree with it wholeheartedly. You shouldn't if you want a woman that want to stay at home and not work, then that's who you need to choose. Don't choose no woman who got ambitions. Don't choose no woman who got goals and try to get her to be no stay at home mom, because she gonna end up resenting you over time, and that junk gonna blow up in your face. It ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work. Because you got women out here that don't mind depending on no man. And no man taking care of her. But you got some women out here, they don't want to be totally reliant and dependent on a man, that they have to ask this man for money as if they're a child. You know what I'm saying? Or if something happened to them, they stuck. They've been taking kids for 10 years. Now they don't know what to do with themselves. You got some women, they don't want to be stay-at-home mom. You need to know that. You need to have that firm. If that's what you want, that's a woman you need to choose. Don't choose no woman and then be like, oh, she rebellious, she wicked, she this, that, then, and the third, because she won't do what you want her to do. You should have chose a woman who shared the same ideals and values as you do. But see, you can't choose a woman who has the same ideals and values as you do if you don't even know what your values and ideals are. You can't even do it. You're just going to try to get a random person, and you're going to try to get them to be what you want them to be, even though that's totally contrary to who they are and what they're about. Don't be that foolish. Nevertheless, when we sit back and we look at how the first strength secures or pairs and secures us to eternal life, we see that how Yahushua came through and how we read it Wednesday, so there's no need to be redundant. But we will deal with the last one in a moment. I lost my thought. We see how Yahushua made the statement that you believe not because my sheep hear my voice and they know me and they follow them. And my Father gave them to me, and they've been mine, they've been his from the beginning. That's how he able to give them to me, because they were always mine, because he declared his generation. So when you look at he's declaring his generation or a group of people, these group of people are going to think, act, and behave, speak, and move as he does. That's what's going to happen. So they're going to be honest people. They're going to be self-sacrificing people, which means they're going to be servants. They're going to lead by example, and they're going to be very protective. They're going to be protective of the people they love. They're going to be protective of the people they care about. They're going to be protective of the people under their charge. That's just how that goes. And nevertheless, when we look at last, it's Acharon. Last behind following Aleph, Hey, Rosh, U, and Nun. So then when we say that good, we can say the man would raise arms, or behold, that first strength secures eternal life. Well, how does that happen? Hebrews 9. And then from Hebrews 9 to Matthew chapter 16. Because either way, what you see with the first is that he's declaring those who written in the book. And when you see with the last, he coming to grab you, because he declared the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end, if you didn't know. And he coming to get all those that belong to him. And then when we look at him being the first and the last, we see all the same characters. The only character different is the Sean and the Hay. Sean is in the first, and Hay is in the last. And why is the Hay in the last? Because you beholding him at the last. You're going to see him. Revelation 1 and 5. Well, 1 and 7. We read it earlier. We read it again. Matter of fact, I said Hebrews 9, and I'm going to get that too. But let's go to Revelation 1 and 7. And then to Matthew 16, and then Hebrews 9. Because in this one here, this is still coming into protection. Yeah, I'm not going to get that one there quite yet. Not quite yet. I think I shall on the first and come back and deal with that. Yes, I shall. Yes, I shall. Praise y'all for that. Just one that said, I'm straight to it. Behold, he come with clouds, every eye shall see him. And they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, amen. I'm the Aleph and the Ta, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord, which is and which was and which is to come, the Almighty. So let's ask ourselves a question. We know Aleph is what, right? The ox, the strength, the leader, right? But what is the Tau? Well, the Tau is this. It's a mark. It's a sign. It's a covenant. It's an agreement, if you will. So when we come over here to Matthew 16, and why is that important? If the last kind of goes along with the last, if the Tau goes along with the last, excuse me, because that made absolutely no sense. It's beginning to tell us something. What was the one I was going to? And we could look at, yeah, I could use that one. No, I could use that one. Which one was I looking at? Oh, yep, that was the one. 16 and 27. For the Son of Man shall come in the esteem of his Father with his malachim, and then he shall reward every man according to his works. Truly I say unto you, there's some standing here which shall not taste death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Why is that important? Because of that hay. Because you're going to behold and you're going to see him. Where is that important again? Because of his kingdom. And there goes that noon, because this kingdom is eternal. Why is that important again? Because you see the first with that Aleph. Now something else just came to mind. And I think I'm going to do that right now before we swing to Hebrews 9. Pardon me. So he says some will not taste death till they see him coming in his kingdom. And I'm saying, why is that important? Because you see that behold and you see that first. Now, we already talked about that first, but I want to talk about it in another aspect. And I want to go back to, let's go to 1 Corinthians 15. Let's just do that. And we'll look at some of the things that as a man, Adam did not do. And if we could see turn around, and that's not saying Adam was a horrible man. We're just talking about in this instance. Did he display the attributes of a godly man in this instance? First Corinthians 15 and about 43. Make it 41. Make it 39. 1 Corinthians 15 and 39. I'll make it 38. 15 and 38. 1 Corinthians 15 and 38. But Elohim give it a body as it have pleased him, to every seed his own body. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there's one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds. And there are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial, but the esteem of the celestial is one, and the esteem of the terrestrial is another. There's one esteem of the sun, another esteem of the moon, another esteem of the stars, for one differ from another star in esteem. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption, it is raised in incorruption. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in esteem. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body. And so it is written, the first man, Adam, was made a living soul, and the last Adam was made a quickening ruach. Howbeit, that was not first which is spiritual, but that which is natural, and afterwards that which is spiritual. The first man is of the earth, earthy. The second man is the Lord from heaven. How does that relate to the first and the last of what we looked at here with Rishon and Acharon? How do we able to ascertain that? Well, the first thing that we could sit back and we could be able to ascertain, if we went a little bit different, we could sit back and see the consumption of the strength of the first secured eternal life. See, now we can change it, right? We can change it around a little bit, right? So now we change it around because we got that Sean, which is the difference between the other one with the hay. Because the hay's got the behold, or the man with raised arms. which is going to go around because the second Adam, the second man, was from heaven because he offered himself. And we see this consumption or the destroying. I hate the first and the last. And now let's take us back to Adam. And let's see how Adam was thinking as a child and understood as a child and spake as a child, which caused him to be consumed. To the point where the last or the Acharon had to become, because this man would raise arms, was the chief or the highest strength to secure eternal life. So we changed it around based on the context of something else that we read in regards to the same topic. So when we go to Genesis chapter 3, and we noted that the serpent, I heard a brother just say this here, say how it said the serpent was smarter than all the beasts of the field. Didn't say the serpent was smarter, said he was more subtle. Meaning he was a little bit more crafty with his lies and his deceit. You know, the smooth criminal, if you will. We're not going to read all through this. But when we get to where it is, verse 6. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Slick as a can of oil, my friend. Slick as a can of oil. And that's where he told that lie. Which that's how you know that the serpent wasn't a man in regards of being a man, because he was a liar. Elohim is not a man that he should lie. So if we gonna be like Elohim and say, when you look at it right, he say, show yourself a man. When he's saying show yourself a man, that means you got to leave evidence. There has to be a manifestation on the physical plane through your actions because of your keeping of the word that you are a man. You got to show yourself a man. Then he told him what? Keep them commandments so you'll prosper. You got to show yourself a man by your righteous obedience of faith. Can't say you a man and you 50-50 with the word. Wishy-washy, inconsistent, dispassionate, if you will. But it said that she gave to her husband and he did eat. So the question is this. Was Adam told not to eat that fruit? Yes, he was. So if he ate that fruit, what attribute did he lack here? That would be a hallmark of a man. What say you, sir?
What did he lack?
What attribute of a man did he lack when he ate from that fruit, when he know he should not have eaten from that fruit? That is acceptable, but not what we're looking for. That is acceptable, but not what we're looking for. Yeah, I'm not saying that you need to recall all of those.
I thought you were looking for one of those words you was going over.
It is one of them, but it's the hallmark of all success is the word that I'm looking for.
Oh, discipline.
That's what he lacked. He lacked discipline. He lacked discipline. Faithfulness, that is correct. I can accept.
It was somewhere to come.
Leadership, hey, I take that one too. Like, hey, I ain't saying it was a right or wrong answer. I'm just saying, hey, that wasn't what I was looking for. He just nailed the one I was looking for. He lacked discipline because he did something that he didn't resist, something that he know he should have resisted. You understand? See, when you discipline, you will not do things that you know. It's like this here, right? Say you a bodybuilder. I'm talking about professional. Like you get on stage, whether it's fitness, physique, self-control. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And
yeah,
which is discipline. Self-control is definitely discipline. Same thing. So you know when you getting ready for a show, it's certain things you can't eat so you can be prepared for that show. And if you sit back and be like, I can eat that coffee cake. I can eat it. That lack discipline. Matter of fact, my man's who got the barbershop on Myrtle, I remember he told me, exact words, y'all, except he used another word for it, shlong. The standard word that most people use in the street, but we ain't gonna be that vulgar. You know what I'm saying? He said he ain't had no penis control, which means he didn't have any discipline. And if you're gonna say that you're a man, then you have to be a disciplined individual. So let me finish. We still got Hebrews 9, right? With the point, but I'm gonna come back to this first point, but we need to finish this new point that hit my head, so I had to do it right then. So forgive me for that, because for us to get to this first Adam and the second Adam, or this first man and this last man, And the difference between the first man and the last man was discipline, which is called self-control. So let's look at the same individual being tempted, and let's see if he manifested discipline. Because if you're looking at a man who's undisciplined, he ain't no man. And that just don't apply to not sinning. If you own a business and you can't discipline yourself to get up and do what you need to do for the success of your business, you ain't a man. If you tell people, and y'all been to who I feel about this here, if you say you're going to be somewhere at a set time and you're not there, that's undisciplined, and that's a lack of commitment, and it's very selfish. And most real men who are punctual will not respect you, because they will not see you as a man, because you can't maintain to your commitment. You can't discipline yourself enough to get up earlier and prepare yourself to be somewhere at the time that you said you were going to be there. Period. I remember Malcolm X had a statement. It's a little different now because you got your phone. And I felt like that before I ever heard. Yeah, that's what we finna read. That's what I was finna, before I even heard him say that. But he was like, if you see a man who ain't got no watch on, that's a man who don't need to be worried about what time it is, because he ain't got nothing going on. He ain't got nowhere to be. So he doesn't need to be punctual. He's not committed to anything. See, lack of discipline is lack of commitment. Lack of commitment is lack of passion. And at that point, you cannot declare yourself to be a man if you're undisciplined. If you're undisciplined, if you only do things when you feel like it. Discipline is doing things that need to be done even when you don't feel like it. Discipline is doing things in the face of temptation and staying steadfast to the task at hand and not wavering to the left hand nor to the right. That's discipline. That's what Adam didn't exhibit. Adam knew he wasn't supposed to eat from that tree. He could have declined. He didn't discipline himself. He didn't control himself. As I stated, that's temperance. Temperance is discipline, because discipline is self-control. And if you cannot govern yourself, meaning you can't govern your mouth, meaning you can't govern your emotions, meaning you can't govern your feelings, you're not a man. And when I'm talking about governing your feelings to be specific, why I mentioned anger, meaning you react and move based off how you feel. You can't control your emotions enough to where you don't act upon them. Not that you don't have them, not that you don't express them, but that you can't control. You allow your feelings to dictate your action. That's a lack of discipline. That's undisciplined. I was going to go to Luke, though. Let's hit that Luke, though. See, and you know what? And you know why this is important? What we mentioning and going through and being a man? Because if you got daughters and you exhibit this is the type of man they gonna choose. You gotta ask yourself, would you want your daughter to marry you? Most people are like, yeah, you a lying bastard. You wouldn't want your daughter to marry you, and you know it. You gotta ask yourself that. Would you want your daughter to marry? What attributes do you show as a man the way your daughter would be like, I want a man like daddy? Because you got a lot of women, and you know the stereotype. That's Luke chapter 4. Y'all know the stereotypical statement. And for a lot of people, it rang true. Men look for women like their mother, who had the characteristics and traits that she possessed. And women look for men like their daddy, if for the characteristics and traits that he possessed. So if you want your daughter to pick a quality man, then be a quality man, because then they won't lower their standards. They don't have a standard to look to. This is what my daddy did. This is how my daddy treated me. This is how my daddy treated my mama. This is how my daddy conducted himself. Then that old punk snowball nigga who don't want to do nothing but jump up and down in her drawers, she not going to pay him no attention. But you don't think about stuff like that, because that's going to have to cause you to elevate yourself. That's going to cause you to look in the mirror and face the things about you that you don't like and say, I will be better. Luke chapter 4. How about being a man? Men constantly evolve and grow and get better each and every day. That's why I'm such a proponent of working out. It's just not for the health benefits or the physical benefits. It's the ability to consistently discipline yourself to a task. Do you know what I'm saying? And everything that revolves around that task. Luke chapter 4, verse 1. Yahushua, being full of the Ruach HaKodesh, returned from Jordan and was led by the Ruach into the wilderness. Being 40 days tempted of the devil, and in those days he did eat nothing. And when they were ended, he would afterward hungered. So that means he has an emotion or a feeling. He has hunger. So he can allow that hunger to dictate his actions, or he can remain disciplined to what he knows that he ought to do. And the devil said unto him, if thou be the son of Elohim, command this stone that it be made bread. Yahushua answered him, saying, it is written that man shall not live by bread alone, but every word of Elohim. So that's the first thing you see, his discipline right then. He didn't respond in an emotional response. He didn't do that. What did he do? He controlled himself. And he conveyed clearly what he was there to do. I'm not here for that. So I don't even know why you came at me like that. Let's see the next thing he did. And the devil, taking him up to a high mountain, showed unto him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. And the devil said unto them, all this power will I give thee, and the esteem of them, for that is delivered unto me to whomsoever I will give it. And if thou therefore wilt thou worship me, all shall be thine. And Yahushua answered and said unto him, get thee behind me, Hashatan, for it is written, thou shalt worship Yahuwah thy Elohim, and him only shalt thou serve. So again, now he come tempting them with riches and esteem and glory, and he rejected it. He remained steadfast to his purpose, stayed disciplined to his purpose, which is another hallmark of an alpha man, an Aleph man, is a purpose. Because see, when you have purpose, you have passion. When you have passion, you have commitment. When you have commitment, you have discipline. And when you have that, you have achievement. Which also means that he's a hard worker or has a work ethic. And you got to remember, would you say that Yahushua was a self-starter? Because his Abba told him what to do, right? But it's still on him to do it. It's still on him to do it. When he slid, see, I'm going to show you something else. We ain't going to go pull it, but I'm going to show you something else. In regards to him being disciplined, him having purpose, and him having work ethic. This boy 12 years old. And what did he do? Hung back and slid through the temple, right? Went to sitting there asking questions and answering questions. And when his people came and said, son, we were looking for you. We were a little scared. He said, you didn't know I had to be about my father's business, man. You didn't know. So he would let them know I have a purpose, mama. Pops, I got a purpose. I'm disciplined to that purpose. And I'm willing to do the work necessary for that purpose. Another instance where you see Yahushua discipline, when Peter pulled that sword and cut Buddy's ear off. And when he cut Buddy's ear off, what occurred? What did Yahushua do when he cut his ear off, gentlemen? He put the ear back on, didn't he? Then he turned around and looked at Peter and told him what? Don't you know I could get 12 legions of angels right now, man? He said, but how the scripture gonna be fulfilled? See, I'm disciplined to my purpose. I'm disciplined to my purpose. See, I got self-control. What he told Pilate, John 18, verse 36. He said, my kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom was of this world, my servants would fight. Praying at the weary hour, that's discipline. That's discipline. That's purpose. That's work ethic. And there's also another thing that we're going to get to of the hallmark of a man is that he inspires people. And this man was an inspiration. See, these are things we're talking about. Like if you a man, who you inspire? And you don't have to, who do you inspire to do something that they felt like they couldn't do before they talked to you or came across you? If you inspiring people to frivolous things, that's childlike. We supposed to be men. See, and the reason why this, and praise y'all, even went in this direction, and had my nigga confirmed for us to continue in this direction. when I was thinking about going in a different direction is this here. We complain about so many things as black people when a lot of things would be corrected if men just stand up and be men. Don't use the excuse, you ain't had your daddy. Because you got some men who didn't have their daddy, and everything their daddy wasn't, or everything their daddy didn't give, they aspired to be the opposite. So the decision to be better starts with the individual. And you don't necessarily have to go run and do all type of community service and this, that, there, and the third. All they got to do is start in the place where you rest your head. Don't run out to strangers before you do it in the place where you rest your head with the people who see you every single day. Start with them. See, this ain't just to bust our balls, but it is to bust our balls because every last one of us, myself included, every man on the stream, every man who will watch it later, every man in this room, we all have to be better. We all have to be better. Not better just for your wives, for our wives, for our children, but also for each other. Do you know what I'm saying? As men, we have to be better for each other. See, there's an aspect of being a man we're going to talk about on tomorrow that we got to be willing to do as well that most men ain't, but we'll get to that because I don't want to get too far off track. So when you look at that first, right, he had to be consumed. Adam was consumed because of his lack of discipline. We will be consumed. What's one of the fruits of the Ruach, right? What's one of the fruits? Temperance, right? So one of the fruits, one of the byproducts of the word is discipline, the very thing Adam didn't have. That's why when you turn around and you look at that acharon and you see that hay. So you have to sit back and look at it, right? Think about this here, right? And I can't speak for all women. I don't know. The women would have to answer that if they saw fit. But I'm not 100%. Can a hallmark be a sacrifice? What you mean a hallmark? I don't understand. You have to elaborate, sir. I don't know if the trait of discipline is seen as attractive in most women. I'm not sure. I'm not saying that it is. I'm not saying it's it. I'm just not sure. You don't hear too many people state that I'm attracted to a man who is disciplined. Because a man who has control can direct and lead someone somewhere. You can't lead somebody nowhere you can't control yourself. Oh yeah, we dealt with that on Wednesday. Sacrifice. You said hallmark. That threw me all off. We dealt with that with the word altruism. Altruism means self-sacrifice. But let's look at Yahushua's discipline at the end, which caused us to be able to behold, to be secure, to behold the highest strength that secured us to eternal life. Let's look at the parts of his death and the discipline that he exhibited, showing you how he could control his emotions. But before we do that, let's read a statement that he said. So what he was teaching you to be disciplined in the face of something. And then I think I'm going to go to Titus. Just keep Hebrews 9 on lock. On lock. I thank y'all for the word. Yeah, Luke 21 about verse 16. Thank y'all for the word. Praise y'all for understanding, for knowledge and wisdom as well. Getting you some late night carbohydrates? Late night carbohydrates. I like carbs. Who like carbs? I don't really like carbs. I was telling a story. 21 and 12. Luke 21 and 12. I can't eat carbs late at night. I did get some carbs off that skinny cow. You know about that skinny cow? That was that ice cream sandwich in there. That was protein ice cream sandwich. Yes, I did. It was actually a 4-pack. Move slow, miss out. Yeah, no, they were definitely in there for way more than 24 hours. So definitely in there almost a week. You know what I'm talking about? That literally was the last one. And definitely got spaced out. The box definitely was gone. Now, about 8 grams of protein, about 27 grams of carbs, about 4 or 5 grams of fiber, about a good 20 grams of sugar.
Pay the heads up next time.
Hey, you want to check it and go. Might get some Arctic Freeze. That's another protein ice cream. A little Arctic Freeze. I done had that several times. Nevertheless, about my penchant for low-calorie ice cream. 21 and 12. But before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. It shall turn to you for a testimony. Listen what he tell you. See, an angry man, an emotional man, are not going to be able. Listen what he tell you. Settle it therefore in your hearts, not to meditate before what you shall answer. He telling you to discipline yourself. Don't think in your mind what you're going to say. He say, for I will give you a mouth and a wisdom which your adversary shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. He telling you discipline your mind and your thought. Don't even worry about all that. I got you. Because now let's look at this here, right? Now let's look if he followed his own advice. Because didn't he say his Abba taught him everything that he should say? And he know that his commandment is life everlasting? That's what he said, right? John 12 and about verse 48, 49, 50, somewhere in that vicinity. Now let's look at the discipline of Yahushua. Let's look at the discipline in the face of death. Now we ought to follow this example. Let's look at his discipline. First thing first, Luke 23 and 1. Because this man gave us an example that we should walk in his steps. So we got to look at the self-control, because the self-control is what got Adam consumed. The lack of it, that I should say, the lack of temperance, the lack of discipline. But the discipline, the self-control of Yahushua is the reason why you could behold him. The reason why you could see him. And if you can see him, then you can see the salvation of Elohim. And if you can see the salvation of Elohim, you will see the kingdom of Elohim. And his name will be in your forehead. And a whole multitude of them arose and led him unto Pilate. And they began to accuse him, saying, listen to what they accused him of. See, an emotional hothead is going to feel the need to defend himself. They say, we found this fellow perverting the nation. So they say he don't love, because remember, say love doesn't do anything unseemly. So they were saying that man was perverse, forbidding to give tribute to Caesar, saying that he himself is an anointed one, a king. Pilate asked him, saying, art thou the king of the Jews? He answered him and said, you say it. Period. See, that's self-control. He didn't argue back, I ain't said that, but he didn't do none of that. That's self-control. That's self-control. You don't think his flesh might have wanted to look him in the face and said, no, nigga, I ain't say none of that. Yeah, I'm the king. What you mean? That's not what he did. Then said Pilate to the chief priests and to the people, I find no fault in this man. When this man had that bitter self, he said, well, this man here couldn't have did nothing wrong. Because anybody else who would have had these type of accusations, they'd have been trying to defend themselves right or wrong. That's what they've been trying to do. Running their mouth. Man, I ain't do that. I ain't do that. He said, you said it, my nigga. Who else had that level of discipline in the law of your forefathers? Who also had the same level of discipline? I narrowed it down with your forefathers. Jacob did. Same level of discipline. He ain't go trying to defend himself with Laban. He said, my righteousness is going to speak for me. You done did me dirty. You done changed my wages. You done tricked me on my wife. You know what I'm saying? He would have a legitimate reason to snap. He remained disciplined throughout the course of that. Do you know the level of discipline it would take for Noah to build the ark, not knowing what he's building it for? Or I'm not even saying not knowing, but not knowing when it's going to be used. You know the level of discipline that takes? Do you know the level of discipline it takes for Abraham to leave everything he has and everybody he knows? Because guess what? When you execute faith, you also executing a discipline. Yeah, definitely Joseph not sleeping with his master's wife is a level of discipline. These are men. Got to have discipline to profess yourself to be a man. It's a godly trait. Being honest is a godly trait. These are godly traits. Self-sacrifice, godly traits. Protection, godly traits. Leading by example, godly traits. We're looking at godly traits. And all these traits we mentioned is what inspired you to follow the man in the first place. Because when you look at saying, like when you say somebody has drive, right? You're really saying they have a purpose. That purpose drives them to do the things that they do. There's another hallmark of a man that Yahushua had. And you know what that was? Yahushua didn't fear no failure. Failure wasn't an option for him, so he didn't fear it. Now, of course, in life on the natural side, we could fail, but you can't have no fear. You can't have no fear of that. Men don't have no fear of no failure. You know why men don't have fear of failure? We'll ask Shayla because she's a lady. Let's see if she can answer that question. Why would you think a man wouldn't have fear of failure, Shayla? What would you think would be the impetus of why he would be devoid of that?
Because they might think that they're weak.
Yeah. Why do you believe that a man would see it in that fashion?
Because they got to put on like this image of them being strong and can conquer the world.
Very well then. Why would you think a man wouldn't have no fear of failure, sir?
Because real man not gonna look at it as failure. They're gonna take what they learn from things that don't go the way they plan to do.
Absolutely. That's why a real man doesn't fear failure, because he's not going to look at it. He's going to look at it as this is what I don't need to do next time. You know what I'm saying? He's going to look at this as, okay, this is what I did wrong. This is what went wrong. This is what I learned from this situation. I won't do that again. Because the reason why a man doesn't feel failure, and I can understand, Shayla, why you would see it from that perspective, but that type of person, what you described, is not a man. That's somebody who overcompensates, trying to cover up for an insecurity. That's overcompensation. Because a real man doesn't fear failure because it's not failure to him. Okay, I failed, when really I just wasn't successful in an endeavor. What can I learn to be better from this particular situation and circumstance to benefit me in the future? And that failure is actually going to propel me to success. Absolutely, learning tools. That's why a real man doesn't fear failure. If an individual is paralyzed by the fear of failure as a man, it's because there's some underlying insecurities inside that man, and then he's going to do what you mentioned, and he's going to overcompensate. You know, when you young, I don't care what nobody say, because every young man done did it. They insecure about something, so we overcompensate. You know what I'm saying? Because you young. As you mature and get older, I would hope you don't continue to be as insecure, and then that overcompensation tends to recede. The reason why most men overcompensate when they're young, because you don't really know yourself. You ain't had enough life experiences. You ain't did a lot of things to really know yourself. So you overcompensate. You take the things that you feel like are manly and you go overboard with it. You go overboard with it. You know what I'm saying? You don't really know no better. You know, some things you learn on the fly. Some things you learn from the men around you. I know, and also too, and this is script, right? When Yahushua say, hey, you don't want to start building something and stop, and people begin to laugh. See, that's another reason why a lot of people fear failure, because they worrying about what the peanut gallery going to say. Now, we talk about Soldier Boy, whatever the case may be, but let's just sit back and look at it. He showed an attribute of manhood by being willing to stand up for what he is about and what he believes in the face of ridicule and opposition. You know how many men ain't going to do that? Now, his reaction to getting loud and cussing niggas and being disrespectful was overcompensation and insecurity. You know what I'm saying? Or you just totally devoid of intelligence to talk to another man in that fashion, because that man could knock your teeth out because you were being very, very disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? Very, very disrespectful. Ain't no need for that. No man don't need to do that. But the fact of, it's not many men that will stand up for what they believe in the face of opposition. A lot of them will cower. You have to be able to stand up for what you believe in the face of opposition. And what I'm talking about, it's not nothing like a situation like with here with Yahushua, life or death. It's just standing up for what you believe in or your perspective of what is the correct thing to do at that particular time. And we ain't talking about sin or nothing of that nature, because you should know right from wrong in that regard. But but nevertheless, verse 5. And they were the more fierce, he stirred up the people, teaching throughout all Jewry, beginning from Galilee to this place. So they had known with the lie. When Pilate heard Galilee, he asked whether the man were a Galilean. And as soon as he knew that he belonged to Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him to Herod, who himself also was at Jerusalem at the time. And when Herod saw Yahushua, he was exceeding glad, for he desired to see him of a long season, because he heard many things of him, and he hoped to have some miracle done by him. Then he questioned him with many words, but he answered him nothing. You know how much discipline it takes to sit back and not answer somebody who asking you a whole bunch of questions? The discipline it takes to keep your mouth closed. When the flesh desires to do the direct opposite. Let's come over here to Matthew 27 so you can look at him standing up in the face of opposition. Remember, and we ought to follow his steps. 27 and 33. I just want y'all to see the discipline, the level of discipline that this man executes. Shoot. I don't know why that junk just hit my head. That doggone cabbage, kale, and broccoli. I might not never get low main from that ever again. Be better for my body, I tell you that.
What?
No, I got a side of kale and cabbage and broccoli. Yeah, it just came in my mind just out of nowhere. It's pretty.
You leave that little man alone. Ain't that but Top Raymond?
No, there ain't no Todd Raymond. Todd Raymond is skiggly and wiggly. I know Todd Raymond.
That soy sauce changed the texture.
No, they don't change no texture. I did 4.5 years, boy. I know Todd Raymond.
That hot walk, man. You ain't had that in there.
Shoot, boy, some boys get in it.
Hot walk and hot water.
Shoot, I don't care nothing about no hot water, no hot water. You meet some of the boys in that chain gang, you gonna thought that nigga hit it with a hot water. Boy, make something happen. Bam, bam. Boy, make something happen. Man, ain't no Orientals at Panda. That's straight commercial. They say that's gourmet chicken. Nigga, that's the only Chinese restaurant I've been in my life, and you ain't guaranteed to see. Come on, man, they can go to River City. There ain't no Chinese niggas in there. Number of black people.
Sir, there don't be no niggas on the walk. I ain't never seen no niggas on the walk.
I seen one at River City, and it was red, and I was shocked.
Over what? Over the 5?
Over the 5, it was one. Shoot, I might have seen one on beach too. It was a mongoloid back there with him.
It be one on premise.
I don't get me wrong now. I ain't walked in no pad and not seen a mongoloid.
That don't count, then. Because a nigga can learn anything as long as it's not in there.
No, I'm just saying though. Shoot, it ain't mongoloid out. Nigga, I bet if you walk in Ying's take you out, nigga, there's nothing but mongoloids in there. Shoot. Everyone walking there, they got Buddha statues, all this. Niggas, I don't even want the shop no more. You know what I'm saying? These niggas probably done down here chanting Om and all that type of junk. Man, I'm come up out of here, man, feeling crazy. If I believed in that type of crap. I told the nigga the other day, having sex with people. And nigga say, they giving spirits away. Nigga, you sound retarded. You know what I'm saying? You ain't giving nothing away but seminal fluid. That's it. I just seen a woman say, boy, these niggas out here trying to teach a nigga polygamy so they can get in a woman's meat pocket. I ain't never heard that term before in my life. This nigga said meat pocket, and it was a woman. I think I heard a nigga say hot pocket. That nigga said meat pocket. She wasn't lying, though. People kill me with that soul ties. Nigga don't be having no soul tie. Nigga just freaked them good. You know what I'm saying? That's all. Because there's some people who done laid with a nigga ain't never went back. You know what I'm talking about? Say, boy, that meat was trash. That vagina was trash. Nigga do some old freaky stuff you like. You steady trying to come back around now. Unless you just with him and then you feel obligated till you stop messing with him. One thing I don't believe in none of that soul tie junk. That junk just be a mental or emotional attachment to a situation that you don't want to release or let go more than anything. Just done got mentally attached, emotionally attached to something. And it's hard for your mind to detach from that. You know what I'm saying? And that's what people like to use as soul ties, because you got some people who just had clean breaks from people and left them alone. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, bomb, with them 10, 15 years. Like, man, that nigga around here smoking crack. I ain't fooling with this nigga no more. Do you know what I'm saying? Straight up, like, I'm out. I ain't on that. I'm not on that. You know what I mean? So I can't go for that, you know? And that's without the word. Like, if I wasn't in the word, I wouldn't go for that either. You're transferring energies. Man, you left your semen in that girl. That's all you did, cuz. You reproduced. You were trying to be fruitful and multiply in an ungodly fashion if you wasn't married. That's all you did. That's all you did. We can't make everything spiritual, man. Everything ain't spiritual. And ain't nothing spiritual about sex. I don't care what now niggas say. I've been on that since the day I got in the word, and y'all will not be on that till the day my last breath expel out my lung. Boy, ain't nothing spiritual about sex. That's completely carnal. Please show me what's spiritual about it. Because at that point, you saying y'all need to rock and knock some boots, and you know you ought to go to hell. Because they say Elohim is a what? A spirit, right? So that means you say he need to be a rock and talking robot. You ought to go to hell at that point. At that point, you ought to go to hell. Watch what you say and know what you say. Be careful what you say out your mouth. Sex is spiritual. How? So if sex is spiritual, if sex is spiritual, you wouldn't be unclean after doing it, clown. Oh, law say you got to wash your body and anything your seminal fluid get on. But it's spiritual. There's nothing spiritual in the book that you need to bathe yourself after the fact. Come on, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? We don't even critically think. We just go off with the next niggas. It's such a spiritual connection. No spiritual connection. You put your genitals on her genitals, and that was it. You know, you got a little feeling in your genitalia. You know how you know sex ain't spiritual? You know the biggest, because it's a temporary feeling. It only lasts as long as the act is participated in. Once the act is over, the feeling is over. So there ain't nothing spiritual about it. That's temporary. Anything spiritual does what? Continues forever. Don't stop. Don't be simple. Be wise. Matthew chapter 27, verse 33. And when they were come unto a place called Golgotha, that is to say, a place of a skull, they gave him vinegar to drink, mingled with gall. And when he tasted thereof, he would not drink. And they crucified him and parted his garment, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture they did cast lots. And sitting down, they washed him there. And set up over his head his accusation, this is Yahushua, the Malach of the Yahudim. Then there were two thieves crucified with him, one on the right hand, another on the left. And they that passed by reviled him, wagging their heads. First thing they showed the discipline on that one is they selling out. He ain't say nothing. Now, don't get me wrong, and we've talked about this in many different aspects. It's human nature to want to defend yourself. Human nature. It's spiritual discipline that causes you not to, when you put your trust in he who judges righteously and allow him to vindicate you. And saying, thou that destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save thyself if thou be the son of Elohim, come down from the stake. Likewise also the chief priests mocking him with the scribes and elders said, he saved others, him himself he cannot save. If he be the Malach of Yasharal, let him now come down from the stake, and we will believe him. He trusted in Elohim, let him deliver him now, if he will have him. For he said, I am the son of Elohim. And if you remember what we read in Job 34, I get it for you. Praise Yah, because it always come back, and back it comes. What we read clearly as day, wilt thou condemn him that is most just? Is it fit to say to a king, thou art wicked, and to princes you are ungodly? And that's exactly what them people did. That's exactly what they did. And even in the midst of them doing that, he remained disciplined as a man and kept his mouth closed. You don't take a lot of strength to be disciplined. Don't take a lot of strength to be undisciplined. It don't. Take a lot of strength to maintain to a task. It take a lot of strength to maintain to your purpose. It take a lot of strength to execute a good work ethic. You know? Nevertheless, let's take ourselves to Hebrews 9, because I'm finna let y'all slide. Hebrews 9. To finish that out. So we see, because it was one thing that we looked at with the first Adam. The first and not the last. The first was undisciplined. The last was disciplined. That's why we see the Sean. The first was consumed. He surely died. The second one, behold.
Would you say he was a baby?
Absolutely was a child. Because he thought as a child and he reacted as a child and he understood as a child.
And Yahushua was a man.
He was a full-grown man. Full-grown man. Does that mean that Adam didn't grow into being a man? No, that don't mean he just wasn't a man right then.
He was born a child.
He was born a child. And guess what children are? Undisciplined. And how do we know that? Because what does our own book say? What is supposed to do with a child? Train them up. So, hold on. We could get even further. What did the book of Proverbs say you ought to do with your child? Chasten him while there's what? Hope. Spare not for his crying. Beat him with the rod and you'll do what? Save his soul from the grave. And what is that? That's the chastening of Yahuwah, which we talk about dealing with endurance. He that endured chastening, the same as a what? A son and not a what? Bastard. Say a Mashiach learned obedience from what? The things that he suffered. And that's where he got his. These are the things that Adam did not get. Adam didn't get chastening. Adam didn't get any of that in order for him to become a man. See, and that's just touching on the light part of the reason why I didn't really want to pull all that out, because we talked about that in endurance. So we'd have been kind of being redundant. But the root of the discipline was the suffering, was the chastisement of Yahuwah on his head. See, we don't even realize that. The chastisement is to bring forth discipline. And chastisement does not necessarily have to be a physical beating. Because there was a lot of chastisement that I received in my childhood, and my people didn't whoop me. I got my fair share and earned every one of them, except for a couple from my granddad. And there was a couple of them I got from Mom Dukes I didn't earn. She just felt like I was in the wrong because that's what my teacher said. But I was actually not in the wrong. It was rare, but it happened a couple times. But you learn the discipline from the chastening. I just had a conversation about that earlier today. Just on Sun Shoot, just about a few months back. Nigga like, hey man, nigga, you could have did this here, but you was over here doing that right there. That's discipline being imparted. And if you're a man, you're not gonna shun that. Whether it come from a woman, no matter who it come from. You're gonna take it. And you're gonna internalize it, and you're gonna use that to allow you to be a better man. You know what I'm saying? Because you should want to make the people around you to be better, whether it's your friends, whether it's your family, your children, your spouse. You should want to make them be better. And if you want people to be better, then you have to inspire them to be better and lead by example, that they might see that and lift their level of play, for lack of a better lack of a better term. So nevertheless, Hebrews 9. That's one of the reasons, even though Eve slipped up, it is what it is, things happen. When he was like, this woman's supposed to be an aid, a help, and a relief, she's there to assist. And in reality, help him be a better version of himself. You know what I'm saying? But the only way a woman can help a man become a better version of himself, and vice versa, is that both of them have to know who they are. When both of them know who they are, then they're secure in their roles. And when they're secure in their roles, then they'll work together in unison to push and prod each other to execute at the highest level, with the man leading the way. Because if the man's the head, then he set the tone. There's a saying, they say, everything starts from the top down. So if certain things are not going in your organization, whether it's your household, whether it's your business, and you the leader, then you need to look at yourself first. And then see, is that causing things to not being executed as they should, or is it at the feet of your subordinates, for lack of a better term? Hebrews 9:23. Because I definitely want to say subordinates, but your compatriots, if you will. Because subordinates that's pretty rough. Unless you got to own your own business and you got employees, then they are your subordinates. But your wife is definitely, and your children aren't your subordinates. It was therefore necessary that the patterns of things in Shamahim should be purified with these, but heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices than these. For Hamashiach has not entered into the Kadash place made with hands, which are the figures of the true, but into Shamahim itself, not to appear in the presence of Elohim for us. Nor yet that he should offer himself often as the high priest enter into the Kadash place every year with the blood of others. For he must often suffer since the foundation of the world. And that's where we see that Sean with the suffering, taking us back to the beginning, taking us back to the Psalms 139. But now once in the end of the world, he have appeared to have put away the sacrifice of himself. That's where you see that ooh come in. You see the appeared with that hay. So Hamashiach once suffered. Oh, I'm sorry. And is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment. So Hamashiach was once suffered to bear the sins of many, and unto them that look for him, and there goes that hay, he shall appear the second time without sin unto salvation, and there go that noon. And even with the suffering being once offered to bear the sins of many, you see the Aleph again because of the strength that it took for him to do that. And the level of discipline that it took for him to do that. And you see how the first got consumed because of lack of discipline, but the second was consumed because of his discipline in order to secure eternal life for all of us. So hallelujah for Yahushua in the word. We will stop right there. So we chopped off a little honesty. Didn't go too far in depth with it, but we chopped off a little honesty. Knocked off a little discipline. Didn't really go too far with it, inspiring people in purpose, but y'all willing, we'll get to all of those in due time. And we see how Yahushua executed that. Probably some on the morrow, y'all willing, we'll come back and see how his members who were written in that book of coming through that first and that last are going to exhibit these traits because they in him. And because they're in him and he's in them, that these things should be made manifest. But what it was that we talked about on Wednesday, I can't remember. I said it, slipped my mind. Y'all willing to come back? Yeah, I don't even know. We talked about self-sacrifice and protection. So some of that self-sacrifice and protection, that self-sacrifice was spurred by the purpose and the discipline. That's what it was spurred by. So if we sit back and we say that we men, we need to look at ourselves as men and make sure that we're as disciplined as we need to be. Not necessarily as we want to be. You can look at to see if you're disciplined as you want to be, but are we disciplined as we need to be in order to bring forth what it is we're trying to bring forth? So I bless everybody out the house of y'all in the name of Yahushua. I appreciate everybody and love everybody who are willing. We pick it up on tomorrow. I don't know when Brother Tavon them gonna be down here, but Brother GP them gonna be down here. Y'all willing in about 2 weeks? Yeah, we don't stream immersions. But if I know there's a way I don't know how the way to do it, well, it's just because I would delete it. I don't really want to put that on there because I'm not really on that. We try to kind of keep that private. But I know brothers and sisters like to be a part of things of that nature when they can't be there physically. But y'all willing, we try to figure something out if there's a way to figure that out. But nevertheless, Everybody stand firm on the word. Let the word of Yahuwah resonate in your hearts, that you can be conforming to the image of his son, and that your soul may be spared, that you might enter into his kingdom at the last day to sing praises to his mighty and Kadash name. And with that being said,